Have you ever wondered how you would record either yourself, such as a setup like this, some type of guitar, could be bass guitar, electric guitar, your synth, or anything like that? How do you even get started recording yourself? Maybe you want to share some music, maybe you just want to try some stuff out. This is the video for you. I'll try and keep it pretty basic, quite light as an entry video, and give you a whirlwind overview. For today's video, there's not really going to be a right or a wrong way to do things. It's more about making you understand what might you need, and then from there you can branch off into the various ways of specializing. So if you're a guitar player, there's going to be some things that are kind of unique to you. If you're a vocalist and you wanted to look at, some type of podcasting setup like this, you're going to have some unique challenges and things you're going to want to look at. Likewise for keys, synths, all that type of things. So I'll jump straight in. So first thing to understand is the signal pathway. Really important. How is this sound that I'm making currently from myself getting to you guys? Well, three different things happening. I've got a source, which is myself. So if this wasn't me speaking, we could have a guitar that's maybe coming out of an amplifier. It could be an acoustic guitar, where I've got this mic then really close to a guitar, a piano, loads of different ways, but I am the source in this instance. This piece of equipment, microphone, it's a dynamic microphone. So there's dynamic, there's condensers. Dynamics are quite good for directional specific sound, so you don't hear a lot of background noise. Condensers are really good for very specific detail, like capturing a room noise, but those normally require some type of external power. So this microphone captures that, and then you've got this lovely cable here that comes out the top. That will then travel all the way along into a box that's called an audio interface. And that interface is the difference between the signal going in acoustically. So as I speak, it captures it, transports it down that cable, and it converts it into a digital signal. And then that digital signal, when I flick into full desktop here, oops, wrong one. This is my software for my audio interface, and you can see here, this is the microphone volume coming in here. So I could lower it, I'll get quieter. I could increase it, I can do all sorts of things here. So I could increase the output. So I could increase the output like this, so it's sounding a little bit clippy. Or I can increase the compression. The difference an audio interface makes is a really good audio interface will make it really easy to record and monitor. So monitoring is about hearing the sound you're recording. And a lot of people go for, like the Scarletts, the Focusrite Scarletts, little red boxes. Amazing piece of kit for the money. Top end stuff, people go for like the Thunderbolt ones. Very, very good, but understand what you need. If you're doing like a podcast or something, you're only going to need a couple of channels. What does channel mean? It's literally how many inputs can you have going in. So a lot of the times you'll have some that'll have maybe 4 in and 2 out, or you might have one that's 6 in and 8 out. It gets complex quite quickly, but if you know you're only going to be using one microphone, sometimes you can get away with a really small, cheap, really good box, and it'll do the trick for you. But you'll have to do your research depending on your usage. All right. So whether it's a microphone, a guitar, whatever it is, your audio interface will do all the conversion for you. Some people will ask then, okay, what about a mixer or a mixing desk? Do I need one? Mixing desks are really handy because for a microphone like this, that needs quite a lot of gain. So gain is just like volume really, but before it hits anything. A mixer can be really good because it helps you dial in the sound and get the volumes right, the levels right before it actually gets to your system. Which means then when it hits your system, so your system being a computer or whatever you're recording into, it means you then don't need to process it as heavily. Now, the interface I've got, which is a Steinberg one, which is quite, not superly expensive, but it's got a lot of features. I've got on that front end panel here, excuse me, there we are. This is basically an onboard digital mixer. So it's a good enough interface that I don't need to have a mixer before it. Some of the cheaper ones, depending on what you're using it for, you might need a mixer beforehand, and it literally will look exactly like this, but it'll be a big physical box instead that you'll plug, instead of your cable going from your microphone, into your interface. It'll hit the mixer first, and then you'll need a separate cable that goes into the interface then. Pros and cons of doing that, but if you're recording lots of different things, a lot of the time, if you're hitting a mixer first, it gives you much more versatility in terms of controlling and shaping that sound before it hits your system. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. This is true regardless of what instrument you're trying to record. So you don't always need a mixer. So a lot of the higher end, like 2-channel, 4-channel audio interfaces will have such good software that you don't necessarily need a mixer. So something to bear in mind. Okay, cool. So next then, how do we then get, once we've got it going into your digital audio workstation, your audio interface, how do you then get that into the software you want to play about with? Well, the whole thing about signal pathway continues into the system as well. And depending on what audio interface you've got, there can be a little bit of fiddling about. So there'll be some type of software normally that comes with an interface, and it'll have all sorts of controls on it. It looks really complicated. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, because if you end up with like a Focusrite or something, it'll be a much simpler version of this. And then, yeah, you get to control and play about with some of your sound beforehand. And then you'll have either Audacity, Reaper, or some type of, it could be on Ableton, Fruity Loops, wherever it might be. Those are digital audio workstations, and it's basically where you do all the production and the mixing and the mastering. All right. When you've then got the signal coming in, like you can see here, this is good because we'll talk about why the signal pathway thing's important in a minute, but I can see I've got some signal coming in, but I've not got anything happening within my system here. There's nothing happening. I've got no channels or anything. So the first thing I need to do then is then add a channel. This is a complex project, but let's just come down here. So let's add an audio track. This is Cubase. Now for me, I've got all these inputs. So as I've said, this is quite a good interface. It's got lots of inputs. You might only have 1 or 2 on here. So you might be using mono, you might be using stereo. In this configuration, I've got it set as mono because I like having a bit more versatility. And then what I can do is input this. Nothing's happening here. Make sure that you monitor or arm your track in your workstation. Okay, and what you should see now is this bar is moving up and I've got signal coming in. So what I can do, I've had to play about with some back-end mixing stuff so you don't get 2 versions of myself. But I'm going to record this in now. Hi everyone, my name's Jake and I'm doing a music video for you. Let me just tweak that back. Now, you might play it back, and some software, if you've got it monitored still, it won't play it back. Make sure you turn that off. Now, hi everyone, my name's Jake, and I'm doing a music video for you. There we are, so that's myself, and I could obviously go in here now, start doing some edits, put some compression on, do whatever I need to, yeah? Really important to understand how, there we are, let's go into that one. It's really important you understand how you get into the system. It's called the signal pathway. So if you are trying to get into recording, map out your signal pathway, because if you have any issues whatsoever, you can basically follow your signal from end to end, start to finish, and go, okay, well, I've got signal coming out of my mic. I can see that it's going into my mixing desk or my audio interface, but then I'm not getting it into my DAW. You may actually do it the other way and go, oh, let me check my thing. Oh, I'm not getting any signal into my audio interface. Well, you can just check then some of your connections, look for some type of visual green lights on your interface or your mixing desk, and you'll know straight away. It's either a dodgy cable, loose connection, you might have tweaked a microphone setting, loads of different things, all right? Seems really mic heavy that, but I want to demonstrate something similar with an instrument because the principles are the exact same. But instead of me being the source in this instance, we're now going to have a keyboard that's the source. So this is the keyboard or the guitar or whatever it is. Exact same idea. So what I'm going to try and do here is, let me just make myself, here we go, just going to make this full screen for you. Oops. There we are. So this is my keyboard. Hopefully you can hear that all right. Right. If I'm going to do some live kind of editing for you here. If I take some of the crop of this to 260, something like that, I've got all these outputs on the back of here. These two here are just cables are going straight out, left and right. I always colour them just so I know when I'm playing about with loads of keyboards and stuff. And they're going straight into my interface. So here's the source. Oops. Here's the source going straight out into my digital audio workstation. Yeah. And then what do we need to do? Well, I know. Let's check then the signal path. So I've got some stuff happening here. So it's definitely passing through. Of course, you guys can hear it. I'm going to then add an audio track. And according to my mixing desk here, input 3 and 4, I could either add 2 separate inputs or I could do 2 mono inputs. I'm going to do 2 mono inputs because, again, I like playing about with mono. For me, it's a bit more versatility. And I'm going to look then at, sorry, let's do a new track. Oh, strange. I've just lost, so here's my first technical issue. For some reason, I've lost all my inputs. Go back in. And then I'm going to make sure I've got my stuff. Here we go. These are all working now. And then I can add, there you go, so it's mono 3, mono 4. And then what I'll do, I'm going to monitor these, but I'm going to mute them just so you guys don't get double whammy. See if this records. Do both. Left and right, remember. There we are. And I could do some mixing. I'm going to pan this one left, that one right, and let's have a little listen to what that sounds like. Hopefully it doesn't double up. Of course, I need to turn the monitor off, yeah. Bit of live kind of, oop, that's not working. And there you are. We've just recorded our instrument straight in. You don't need to have the most complex software. You also don't need to have the most complex hardware. Start basic, work your way up. You know, if you're really going to be doing like podcasting and vlogging or something, you don't need to get a super expensive interface. You might want to spend a bit more on a nice microphone and an interface that lets you do some onboard mixing and stuff. Or you could maybe buy, you know, a little Focusrite Scarlett or something with 2 channels on it, just to give you some future-proofing. Get a mixing desk. You get that full control then before it even goes in. And it means that you don't have to do loads of mixing and editing once you get it in. Loads of different ways. I'm not going to say which way is best because everyone works in a slightly different way. But yeah, that's fundamentally how recording works. So just to recap, understand your signal pathway. How does your sound get from where it is, its source, into your system, and through all the connecting points in between, just so that you know, 1, how it actually works, really important, and 2, so if you have any issues troubleshooting, well, you could be able to troubleshoot it rather, yeah? Okay, so let's think of then a guitar. So how does a guitar work then? Exact same principle, really. I will have, instead of myself, it be me strumming my guitar. There's a cable, very similar to how the synth one works. But you either plug then into an amplifier or some pedal board, yeah? Or you'll have it going directly into some type of DI box, which is like a lifting signal, or signal lifter rather, sorry. Or you plug it straight in, and what you can then do is, let me just show you an example. You can have all sorts of things like tube simulators. So like I've got an amp simulator here. This is like some type of amp sim. I can add some type of distortion. So yeah, some like tube stuff. There's another one, quadriforce. Here we go. So, you know, I can add stuff like this, or there's some more all-in-one plugins, such as Guitar Rig, quite a popular one. So I'll see if this will load for you. And what these do is they simulate the virtual environment of having an amplifier and a cabinet and such. The way guitars are, I'll be honest. Here we are. So yeah, look, I've got like a virtual guitar thing there. For me, the way I record my guitars is I'm using a Kemper, which is like a virtual modeling amplifier. It sounds phenomenal. They're very big at the moment. And yeah, it means I don't have to then have like a Marshall JCM 800 or something hooked up to a 100-watt speaker and then trying to record. Well, I'd have to then put a microphone up to the cabinet and try and record it. I'd have to make quite a bit of noise out of it to get it kind of hot sounding. Yeah, technology is fantastic these days, and you don't need to have a massive amount of gear. But yeah, you do need to know what you're doing. And guess what? You can teach yourself absolutely everything for free. Just spend the time researching what it is you need. So if you're a guitarist trying to do some covers, same idea as the vocalist trying to do some podcasting. You know, get a little Focusrite or something. There's a Behringer. There's a few, honestly. And then you either have a mic recording your amplifier, or you'll get some type of virtual amp. So whether it's you plugging straight into your interface or your mixer or whatever, and then doing it that way, or you can plug straight into like a virtual modeling amp, like the Kempers. There's a Fractal, not a Fractal, Headrush. There's loads of different ones. Line 6 have one as well. And then on that virtual device, you'll have 2 cables that go out. That's why I try and aim for, if you're a guitarist, try and aim for at least 2 channels, just so that if you are coming out of like a virtual amp or something, you've got a left and right stereo coming out. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. But any questions at all, please do reach out. I give out my knowledge for free because I love doing what I do, and I've spent a lot of time struggling and battling through all sorts of different things throughout my musical journey. So if I can give something back, absolutely I will. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, hit me up in the comments. Feel free to leave a comment, subscribe if you think obviously the content's decent. Please leave me some feedback. You know, if you think the audio quality is a bit strange or whatever, let me know. I can't improve it if I don't know. So I've got pretty thick skin, so let me know. All right, have a lovely rest of your day. Goodbye. Hope you enjoyed that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you like any of the stuff that you see in this video and want to learn more, please do message. I love engaging with people, trying to give free tips and stuff. And obviously, if you really do enjoy it, please do leave me some comments and some feedback. It's really, really, really appreciated. But yeah, make sure you subscribe if you do really like it. And on that note, have a lovely rest of your day, wherever you are. See you later.